Imagine waiting your entire life, like your absolute whole life, to see your country score a single goal in the World Cup.
Oh, yeah. Decades of waiting.
Right. Picture the generations of fans, passing down stories of the agonizing qualifying campaigns, the constant heartbreak.
It really becomes part of the national identity, that struggle.
It does. And then you're sitting there watching your television, and it finally happens. The ball actually hits the back of the net.
The release of pressure there is just unimaginable.
Exactly. The stadium erupts, the camera pans to the stands, and you see grown men and women openly weeping. They're clutching their flags, screaming at the top of their lungs.
Absolute, unfiltered, pure euphoria.
But there's a catch, and it's a pretty massive one. You look up at the scoreboard, and you are losing 6-1.
Man, it is such a vivid, almost painfully contradictory image, isn't it?
It really is.
On one hand, you have the absolute pinnacle of sporting joy, and on the other, just total athletic demolition.
Yeah, demolition is the right word, but that was the exact literal reality for Panama against England in their 2018 World Cup debut.
It was a brutal introduction to elite global football.
Right. It was a moment of immense national pride, obviously, but at the exact same time, a completely unforgiving wake-up call.
But, well, we aren't here to dwell on 2018.
No, we're looking forward to.
Fast forward to today, June 2026. The World Cup is back, and we're looking at a massive stack of sources for this deep dive into the source material.
Oh, we got everything today.
Everything. Leaked tactical blueprints, betting odds, deep dive player biographies, historical performance data, and we're using all of it to understand how Panama has completely rebuilt itself from the ground up since that day in Russia.
Which is a fascinating journey.
It is. Our mission today, what we really want to figure out for you listening, is whether this totally transformed Panamanian team can actually shock Group L.
Because that group is no joke. No, waiting for them is a total gauntlet. England, Croatia, and Ghana. We want to see if they can navigate that and achieve their first ever knockout stage appearance.
And it is so crucial to establish right from the start for anyone listening that this isn't just like a feel-good cinematic redemption story.
Right, it's not a Disney movie.
Exactly. What we are looking at in these sources is an absolute masterclass in how an underdog nation structurally, philosophically, and tactically reinvents its entire footballing identity.
They've completely changed who they are on the pitch.
They really have. They have moved from being these emotionally driven participants who were, frankly, just happy to be at the party to cold, calculated, tactical competitors.
The chess match ahead of them in this tournament is going to be fascinating to watch.
That's truly fascinating.
I want to dive straight into that transformation. Let's look at the team's identity. They are belovedly known by two nicknames, Los Canaleros, the Canal Men, and La Marea Roja, the Red Tide.
They're a red tide. I always loved that one.
It's a great nickname. And if you go back and look at the tape of that 2018 team, the Red Tide moniker was incredibly accurate.
Oh, completely?
They played like a literal tidal wave of pure emotion and adrenaline. Just getting there was a historical achievement for them.
Right. The passion was off the charts.
But tactically, from what I'm reading here in the breakdowns, they were incredibly raw.
They were very raw. And that rawness is exactly what led to 3 straight losses.
And a staggering 11 goals conceded in just 3 games.
Yeah, that's the harsh reality of it. The 2018 squad achieved the dream of qualification, which, again, monumental for the country.
Huge. A national holiday kind of event.
Exactly. But once they arrived on the global stage, the gulf in tactical sophistication between them and the European giants was just painfully obvious.
It was like watching 2 different sports almost.
Right. They relied heavily on heart, on their natural physicality, and on just riding the momentum of the moment.
Which works in regional qualifiers sometimes.
Sure, it gets you through CONCACAF. But passion alone cannot withstand the meticulous clinical execution of teams like Belgium or England.
They'll just pick you apart.
Exactly. To survive at a World Cup, you can't just run hard. You need a system. You need a rigid architecture.
Which brings us perfectly to the architect of this 2026 evolution. We have to talk about their manager, Thomas Christensen.
Oh, this guy is fascinating.
Just reading his background, I was instantly hooked. He's Danish-born, he's a former Spanish international player, and he took over the Panamanian national team in 2020.
And he immediately made waves.
He did. And I want to throw something at you because I'm looking at these notes, and I just can't wrap my head around it.
Okay, lay it on me.
When the Panamanian Football Federation first offered him the job, he actually rejected a 7-year contract.
Yeah, that's unheard of.
He insisted on a much shorter deal specifically to protect the Federation from being stuck with him if the leadership changed.
He essentially said, don't tie yourselves down to me.
Right. And in the highly volatile, totally cutthroat world of international football management, where guys are fired after like 3 bad games, turning down job security sounds bordering on insane.
It sounds like financial malpractice for a manager.
Exactly. Is this a sign of supreme confidence? Or is this some kind of psychological masterstroke to win over the suits and the fans?
I think it's a brilliant piece of leverage, honestly, whether it was a highly calculated move or just born out of his own personal integrity.
How so? Like, what does he gain?
Well, if we step back and connect this to the broader picture of football management, coaches are usually desperate for long-term contracts.
Well, they want the safety net.
Exactly. The likelihood of getting fired is astronomically high. A long contract guarantees a massive severance payout when things inevitably go south.
The golden parachute.
Right. By rejecting that parachute, Christensen sent a crystal clear signal to the Panamanian Federation and, crucially, to the Panamanian public.
That he wasn't just there to cash a check.
He wasn't a mercenary. He was there to build a real project. It immediately established a foundation of unshakable trust.
He basically told them, I will earn my stay every single day.
And clearly he has. I mean, he's since extended his stay to 2026, and according to the sources, he's even applying for a Panamanian passport.
Wow, so he is fully bought in.
Completely.
So by saying no to the money up front, he effectively bought himself the one currency that managers never have. Time.
Precisely. Time and goodwill. And he needed both of those desperately.
Because he was about to make some very unpopular decisions.
Right. Massively unpopular. Because when you are trying to overhaul an entire nation's playing style, you have to break some eggs.
Right.
He was moving them away from relying on nostalgic, fan-favorite veteran players, the guys the country absolutely loves.
These heroes of 2018.
Exactly. And instead, he started picking players based strictly on tactical roles. And when you do that, you are going to face massive backlash.
The fans want to see the names they know.
Of course they do. But Christensen had to make those deeply unpopular decisions to build a modern system. He instituted a strict role-based selection policy.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning you don't get called up just because you are a famous name or because you had a great game 5 years ago.
Right.
You get called up because your specific athletic profile fits a highly specific job description in his tactical machine.
That is a tough pill for fans to swallow.
It is, but because he had built that initial trust with his contract move, the Federation actually backed him when he made those tough calls.
Well, the sources make it clear that the gamble completely paid off. The numbers are just undeniable.
They really are.
He took Panama from 87th in the FIFA rankings all the way to a historic 33rd.
That is a massive leap in international football.
Huge. And they reached the 2023 Gold Cup final, plus they made it to the quarterfinals of the 2024 Copa America.
Tangible, undeniable results.
Exactly. But what is his actual endgame here? What is his stated vision for this 2026 squad as they head into this specific tournament?
What's really fascinating here is that Christensen hasn't been shy about his ultimate vision at all. He has explicitly stated his goal.
Okay, what is it?
He wants Panama to be the quote-unquote Morocco of the 2026 World Cup.
Okay, for you listening who might not remember every single detail of last tournament, he's referencing Morocco's incredible shock run to the semifinals in 2022.
Exactly. And if you look closely at how Morocco achieved that historic run, it wasn't by playing expansive, beautiful, free-flowing, attacking football against superior teams.
Right, they weren't outpassing Spain or Portugal.
Not at all. They didn't try to outpass the masters of passing. It was achieved through incredible, almost agonizing defensive discipline.
It's just a wall.
A total unwavering commitment to a tactical shape. And they paired that with lethal efficiency on the counterattack.
So Christensen is looking at that Moroccan blueprint and thinking, we can do that.
Yes. He's realizing that Panama actually has the exact athletic profile to replicate it.
That makes a lot of sense.
To execute this, our sources note he has worked tirelessly to insulate the team from domestic chaos.
What kind of chaos?
You know, the noise of the local leagues, the intense media pressure in Panama City. He blocks all that out and keeps the players entirely focused on executing their specific roles.
It's a complete paradigm shift from the emotion of 2018.
Totally different vibe.
But trust from the Federation and the fans is one thing. Translating that onto a grass pitch against some of the best athletes on earth, that is another challenge entirely.
It's the ultimate test.
So to understand how they actually jumped 54 spots in the rankings, we have to look under the hood at Christensen's tactical blueprint.
Let's get into the weeds.
I'm looking at the tactical breakdowns here, and they describe the system as a 3-4-2-1 formation when Panama has the ball,
Right.
which then shifts into a highly compact 5-4-1 defensive block when they lose possession. For you listening, trying to visualize this on your TV screen, how does that actually function in real time?
Let's strip away the numbers for a second and visualize the geometry of the pitch.
Okay, geometry. I like it.
Imagine a steel spring. When Panama has the ball, they stretch out a bit to pass it around.
Giving themselves some breathing room.
Right. But the absolute second they lose the ball, that spring instantly coils tightly backward.
Just snaps back.
Exactly. The two wide players, the wingbacks, sprint backward to join the three central defenders. Suddenly, you have a flat, solid wall of 5 defenders spanning the width of the penalty box.
The literal wall of bodies.
And then the 4 midfielders tuck in incredibly closely right in front of them.
So they're essentially building a fortress right in front of their own goalkeeper.
Exactly. It's what we call a low or mid block, depending on where they set up on the field.
So they aren't chasing the ball all over the place.
No, they aren't running around wildly trying to steal the ball back near the opponent's goal. Instead, they drop back, stay incredibly compact, and essentially dare the opponent to try and play a pass through a forest of 20 legs.
Good luck threading that needle.
Right. They intentionally close down the valuable central passing lanes and force the opposition to move the ball out wide into low-value areas near the sidelines.
So they want the other team to be on the edges.
They do. They want you to cross the ball because it's mathematically much harder to score from a wide cross than a central through ball.
And the data we have access to here completely backs up how effective this coiled spring is. The sources highlight their defensive solidity as their absolute biggest strength.
It's the foundation of everything they do.
Listen to this. During their qualifying campaign, they went completely unbeaten. 5 wins, 3 draws, 0 losses.
0 losses in CONCACAF is no joke.
And over those 8 games, they conceded only 4 goals.
That's airtight.
They pair this structured defense with exceptional physical power, which makes them highly efficient on set pieces like corners and free kicks.
Very dangerous in the air.
And they utilize incredibly rapid vertical transitions when they do win the ball back. But there is one specific metric in our sources that totally blew my mind.
Oh, I know which one you're going to say.
I want you to explain this to the listener. Their rate of ball loss in their own defensive third against top 40 ranked teams has dropped to under 8%.
It's staggering.
Why is that 8% number so important?
That 8% metric is the absolute holy grail for a defensive-minded manager.
Break down what that actually means when you're watching a game.
Okay, so when an elite team like England tries to press Panama high up the pitch, meaning England's attackers are swarming Panama's defenders right near Panama's own goal, Panama is no longer panicking.
They aren't just booting it into the stands.
No, they aren't blindly kicking the ball away, or worse, turning it over in dangerous areas. Under previous managerial regimes, that turnover number was over 12%.
Which is high.
It's a recipe for disaster against top-tier teams.
Because giving the ball away that close to your own goal is basically a guaranteed scoring chance for the other team.
Exactly, you're just handing them a goal. That drop from 12% to under 8% represents pure composure.
It's poise under pressure.
It represents a team that knows exactly where their passing outlets are, even when they are under intense, suffocating pressure. It means they can safely pass their way out of danger.
And here's where the counterattack comes in, right?
Yes. Once they secure the ball and break that initial pressure, that coiled spring releases violently.
Snap.
Because the wingbacks had dropped so deep to defend, when they transition forward, they're essentially running 60-yard sprints straight up the sidelines into empty space.
Because the other team pushed up to press them.
Exactly. They bypass the congested midfield entirely with vertical passes over the top before the opponent can even organize their defense.
Okay, so that is the armor. And it sounds incredibly robust.
It's heavy armor.
But every suit of armor has an Achilles heel, and the sources are very clear that Panama definitely has them. I'm seeing 2 massive red flags in these documents.
Let's hear them.
First, they lack a world-class clinical goal scorer in the penalty box.
Yeah, they really do.
They don't have a Harry Kane or a Kylian Mbappe, who only needs half a chance to score. Their goal scoring is highly distributed across the entire team.
Which is fine until you need a hero.
Exactly. Second, And this feels much more critical. They have a massive vulnerability when they are trailing in a match.
Guess the big one?
The data shows they have a sub 40% win rate when they concede the first goal.
Huh.
Why does this highly organized machine completely fall apart if they go down 1-0?
This gets to the very heart of highly structured football, and honestly, it's what makes the tactical side of this tournament so gripping.
Explain that.
Christensen scripts these games meticulously. Every single player knows exactly where to stand, where to step, and where to pass when the score is 0-0 or when Panama has a lead.
So they have a script for parity.
Right. They are very comfortable letting the other team have the ball, but if an opponent scores an early goal, the entire psychological and tactical dynamic of the match flips instantly.
The script is out the window.
The opponent no longer needs to attack. They can just sit back and defend their lead. Suddenly, Panama is the team that has to dominate possession.
They have to become the aggressor.
Panama has to break down a defensive wall. And as our sources note, they simply do not have the elite creative playmakers or the clinical strikers required to improvise and pick the lock of a set defense.
It sounds to me like they've built a heavily armored knight.
That's a good way to put it.
When that knight is standing its ground, shielding the castle, it's incredibly hard to pierce their defenses. And they can hit you with a massive broadsword on the counterattack if you get too close.
Absolutely.
But if you manage to draw first blood and Panama is suddenly forced to take off that heavy armor because they have to run fast and chase the game, they suddenly look clunky, exposed, and vulnerable.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. A knight in full plate armor is not built for a 100-meter sprint.
Not at all.
If Panama falls behind and is forced to abandon their protective 5-4-1 block to push extra players forward in search of a goal, they leave massive, unprotected gaps behind them.
And against England or Croatia.
At the World Cup level, elite teams will ruthlessly punish those empty spaces.
And we actually saw a brutal proof of concept regarding this exact vulnerability in their recent warm-up friendlies heading into June 2026.
The Brazil game.
Yeah, the sources detail a match they played against Brazil where they suffered a heavy 6-2 loss.
A painful one.
Now, Christensen did point out a highly controversial offside goal early in the match that went against Panama and kind of broke their spirit.
Sure, managers always point to those moments.
Naturally. But regardless of the refereeing, that match fully exposed their defensive block against an elite, high-tempo pressing team. I want to understand the mechanics of that breakdown. If the 5-4-1 is a solid wall, how did Brazil score 6 times?
The Brazil match is the ultimate cautionary tale for Christensen. We talked earlier about the defensive block shifting side to side to close down passing lanes.
Right, moving as a unit.
When you face players with the supreme technical ability and passing speed of the Brazilian national team, they can actually move the ball side to side faster than a human defensive block can physically shift laterally.
Right.
The ball just moves faster than men can run. Eventually, if you whip the ball back and forth quickly enough, a seam opens up between two defenders.
It's a tiny crack in the armor.
Exactly. A Brazilian winger finds that half step of space and the armor cracks. However, we really cannot let that one result overshadow the broader picture.
Right, because we also have to look at their other friendlies from the sources.
Right. They also secured a 4-2 win over the Dominican Republic.
And they ground out a very gritty 1-1 draw with Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yes. The Dominican Republic win proved they do have some capacity to orchestrate attacking rotations against lower-tier teams when required.
They can score when they need to.
But that Bosnia game, that is the holy grail of what Christensen is trying to achieve.
Why that game specifically?
Bosnia is a tough, highly physical European team. Grinding out a 1-1 draw against them is the exact kind of disciplined, mid-block performance Christensen is aiming to replicate against the European opposition they will face in Group L.
Okay, so executing a rigid, physically demanding defensive system like this requires absolute, unwavering discipline.
Total buy-in.
It completely falls apart if even one player loses focus or goes rogue trying to be a hero. You need players who are completely bought into doing highly specific, often very unglamorous jobs.
The dirty work.
Exactly. If I'm watching this team, who are the guys actually running this machine on the field? Let's look at the spine of this team, the veteran lieutenants carrying out Christensen's orders.
The generals on the pitch.
According to the deep dive bios we have, it all starts with a captain, Anibal Godoy. He's 36 years old, playing his club football for San Diego FC, and holds an incredible national record of 159 caps for Panama.
159 caps is staggering.
It's massive. He's listed here as the anchor. What does that mean in practice?
To truly understand Godoy's value to this Panamanian side, You have to look completely past the traditional stat sheet.
So no goals or assists.
If you look for goals or assists, you'll miss his impact entirely. He isn't on the pitch to score spectacular volleys. He is there to do the grueling, invisible, dirty work.
Like what?
He is the player tactically fouling an opponent to stop a counterattack.
Taking the yellow card for the team.
Exactly. He is the player shifting over to cover the empty space left behind when one of the wingbacks sprints forward. He is constantly organizing the defensive shape, literally pointing and shouting at his teammates to step left or right to maintain the integrity of that 5-4-1 wall.
A coach on the field.
Precisely. At 36 years old, and with 159 caps, which, by the way, represents an astonishing physical toll when you consider the brutal travel demands and physical nature of CONCACAF qualifiers, his greatest asset is his mind.
He's seen it all.
His reading of the game is elite. He sees the danger 2 passes before it actually materializes.
And it seems from our notes that Godoy's selfless defensive sacrifice is the exact mechanism that allows the star of the midfield to actually shine.
Oh, without a doubt.
I'm talking about Adalberto Carrasquilla,
Yeah.
affectionately known as Coco.
Coco?
The sources call him the Engine. He was the 2023/2024 CONCACAF Player of the Year, and he recently secured a massive club record transfer fee to Liga MX side Pumas UNAM.
A huge move for him.
He is the creative heartbeat of this team. The scouting reports heavily emphasize his exceptional press resistance. They also state bluntly that his physical fitness is paramount. Like, if Carrasquilla goes down, the entire Panamanian system falters.
It breaks down completely.
What makes him so uniquely irreplaceable?
If Godoy is the heavy anchor holding the ship in place, Carrasquilla is the sail catching the wind.
I like that.
Let's define press resistance for the listener because it's a term thrown around a lot in modern football.
Yeah, what does it actually look like?
Imagine playing a game of tag inside a phone booth.
How's terrifying.
It is. When Panama wins the ball back deep in their own territory, 2 or 3 opposing players will instantly rush at Carrasquilla to try and steal it back.
They swarm him.
Press resistance means he doesn't panic. He has the incredibly tight ball control, the physical agility, and the spatial vision to physically spin away from that intense pressure, shield the ball, and find a forward pass to ignite the counterattack.
So he's the guy who turns defense into offense in a split second.
Precisely. And this is where the partnership with Godoy is so vital. Godoy's absolute defensive discipline is what gives Carrasquilla the freedom to take those risks.
He knows Godoy has his back.
Carrasquilla knows that if he tries to spin away from a defender and loses the ball, Godoy is right behind him to clean up the mess.
That trust is huge.
Without Carrasquilla's unique ability to absorb pressure and pass the team forward, Panama's 5-4-1 defensive block stops being a coiled spring and just becomes a static siege.
You're just waiting to get scored on.
Exactly. If you can't relieve the pressure, eventually the walls will fall.
Okay, so Carrasquilla is operating in the heavily congested center of the pitch. If the opposing team is sucking all their pressure inward to try and stop him, that must leave massive acres of empty space on the outside edges of the field, right on the wings.
That's the tactical trade-off.
Who is capitalizing on that?
That is exactly the tactical consequence. And that brings us to the next crucial piece of the puzzle, the wingbacks.
Right, and the standout veteran there is Michael Amir Murillo, labeled in the sources as the wide threat.
A very apt name.
He's a 30-year-old right wing-back, currently playing for Besiktas in Turkey. He transferred there from the French club Marseille for a reported €5 million. He has 94 caps for Panama.
That's a serious resume.
The sources highlight his top-tier European experience, his blistering speed, and his crucial set-piece delivery. Why is his European pedigree so highly valued in this specific squad?
Maria's career trajectory is deeply impressive and frankly vital to the psychology of this team.
How so?
He started locally at San Francisco FC in Panama, moved to MLS with the New York Red Bulls, and then successfully established himself in the intensely competitive European leagues.
Right. Belgium, France, Turkey.
He has played under the brightest lights in the Champions League and Europa League. He implicitly understands the speed and the rhythm of elite European football.
He's not going to be starstruck.
Exactly. In a Panamanian squad where many of his teammates compete in regional leagues across the Americas, Murillo's day-to-day experience makes him the unspoken leader of the backline.
He's seen it all at the club level.
When Panama lines up against England and Croatia, Murillo won't be intimidated. He knows exactly what it takes to face that caliber of world-class attackers.
To round out the veteran core, the sources point to Ismail Diaz, the finisher. He plays for Club Leon in Mexico and was actually the top scorer for Panama in their qualifying campaign with 8 goals.
He's the sharp point of the spear.
Right. If Carrasquilla manages to spring a counterattack, Diaz is the guy tasked with making sure it ends up in the back of the net.
They need him to be clinical.
And then there's Alberto Quintero. I have to say, I absolutely love his story. It's pure cinematic personal redemption.
It really is.
He completely missed the historic 2018 World Cup because he suffered a fractured foot on the absolute eve of the tournament.
Heartbreaking.
Imagine the heartbreak. Now, in his mid-30s, he has fought his way back and is finally getting his World Cup moment.
It's a beautiful narrative. The inclusion of veterans like Quintero provides an invaluable, intangible psychological boost to the dressing room.
A reminder of what they're fighting for.
His presence reminds the entire squad of the historical weight of this tournament and how fleeting these opportunities are. And going back to Diaz, we discussed earlier that Panama struggles to score.
Right.
In this hyper-defensive system, your striker might only get 1 or 2 clear-cut chances over a full 90 minutes.
So pressure is high.
Efficiency is everything. If Diaz misses, they might not get another shot.
So we have a very solid veteran foundation. But you and I both know a team cannot survive the grueling, physically punishing schedule of a World Cup group stage on aging legs alone.
You need fresh legs.
You need youth. You need sheer physical recovery speed. Christensen knows this, and the sources show he is betting heavily on the future.
The defensive wall.
Let's look at what the tactical breakdowns call exactly that. The defensive wall. The promising young stars he has integrated into the squad. It's noted here that Christensen has been highly willing to give under-23 players high-leverage, competitive minutes.
Which is rare.
In a world of risk-averse international management, that's actually pretty rare, isn't it?
It's a massive risk, but a completely necessary one for a nation trying to evolve. International football is fundamentally different from club football because you get very little training time with the players.
Right, they just fly in for a week.
You get them for maybe a week before a big game. Because of that lack of preparation time, most international managers default to older, experienced players they already trust.
I don't have time to teach.
They simply don't have the time to teach a 21-year-old the nuances of a highly complex tactical system. Christensen's willingness to throw young center backs into the absolute fire of competitive CONCACAF qualifying matches shows he is building for the horizon.
Looking past just the next game.
He isn't just trying to survive the current week, he is actively engineering the future of Panamanian football.
And the undisputed crown jewel of that youth movement is Jose Cordoba. The notes here describe him as a 25-year-old left-footed center back currently playing for Norwich City in England.
He is a fantastic talent.
He brings extreme composure on the ball and high-level progressive passing, which is vital for building out of the back. We also have Edgardo Farinha, a 24-year-old playing in the Russian league for Paris Nizhny Novgorod, who adds raw, aggressive physicality.
A real enforcer.
And finally, Andres Andrade, who plays for LASK in Austria. His medical history is incredible. He suffered a devastating ACL tear in May 2024.
A terrible injury.
The fact that he recovered showed the immense resilience to reclaim his starting spot and is now anchoring this World Cup defense is just staggering.
The physical and mental return of Andrade cannot be overstated. Anyone who follows sports knows that a 10-month grueling rehab from an ACL tear is completely exhausting.
It's a dark place.
For him to return and immediately reestablish his physical authority in the backline gives Panama a massive boost in confidence. And looking at Cordoba, having a left-footed center back is an incredible tactical luxury for a manager.
Why does it matter which foot he prefers? A defender is a defender, right?
It's all about passing angles. When you are building out from the back under pressure, a left-footed player positioned on the left side of the defense can naturally open his hips to the entire field.
Oh, I see.
He has passing angles down the sideline or across the middle that are physically awkward or completely closed off to a right-footed player trying to play on that side.
Because they'd have to turn their body weirdly.
Exactly. It allows for much smoother, faster progression of the ball out of the defensive third.
Okay, I hear you praising this youth movement, and the passing angles sound great. But hold on, I need to stop you there because I'm looking at Cordoba's deep dive scouting report.
Let's look at the flaws.
It explicitly notes that while he is excellent with the ball on the ground, his primary glaring limitation is his aerial duel success rate.
He struggles in the air.
He struggles to win headers against physical forwards. If your star young center back struggles in the air, isn't that a massive red flag heading into a group stage with a team like England?
It's a concern.
We all know England is notoriously lethal on set pieces, corner kicks, and crosses into the box.
Mm.
Are they not just going to target him relentlessly on every single high ball? That feels like tactical suicide to play him.
It is an excellent question. And honestly, if Panama were playing a traditional back four defense, it would be a critical, potentially fatal flaw.
Right.
But this is exactly where the genius of Christensen's 5-4-1 defensive block comes into play. Christensen knows Cordoba's weakness, so he doesn't leave him isolated to fight aerial battles against massive English players like Harry Kane or John Stones.
How does he protect him?
The defensive system is specifically designed to use the brute, aggressive physicality of players like Andrade, Farinha, and the veteran Murillo to insulate Cordoba.
So they do the heavy lifting.
When a cross comes into the box, those bigger physical defenders are explicitly tasked with attacking the ball and engaging in that physical combat in the air.
So they basically provide a bodyguard detail for him on high balls.
Exactly. And because they are fighting the aerial battles, it allows Cordoba to focus entirely on his specific strengths. Sweeping up loose balls that drop to the ground, reading the second phase of the play, and immediately initiating the counterattack with his elite left-footed distribution once possession is won.
That's brilliant.
The entire system is engineered to hide his individual weakness and amplify his strength.
Wow. Okay, that makes perfect sense. The armor is intricately designed to cover the weak spots of the individual pieces inside it.
Exactly right.
All right, now that we know exactly what their armor looks like, what weapons they're carrying, and where they are vulnerable, it is time to see how they match up against the actual gauntlet waiting for them in June 2026.
The group stage.
Let's break down Group L. Just looking at the names, Panama, Ghana, Croatia, and England, it's an absolutely fascinating clash of styles.
It really is the beautiful game encapsulated in one group. You have four incredibly distinct footballing identities colliding.
Olympics.
You have explosive African pace and transition play with Ghana. You have elite, methodical European technical possession with Croatia. You have pragmatic, overwhelming talent and dominance with England. And you have Panamanian structured, gritty resilience.
Let's walk through the schedule chronologically, because the order of games matters immensely in tournament football.
It dictates everything.
Match day 1 is June 17th. They are playing in Toronto, Canada, at BMO Field against Ghana. All of the sources across the board agree this is universally billed as the absolute key swing match for Panama.
The most important game of their tournament.
The scouting reports on Ghana show they have explosive, terrifying pace. Players like Antoine Semenyo and Iñaki Williams who can just outrun anyone on the pitch.
Track stars.
However, they also have a well-documented history of defensive lapses and losing tactical focus in major tournaments.
A bit chaotic.
The prediction from the odds makers is that Panama simply must secure a win or at least a draw here to have any realistic hope of advancing. If you are the listener tuning into this game, what should you be watching for? What is Panama's strategy?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of tournament psychology, opening matches set the emotional and mathematical tone for the entire group stage.
You can't afford to lose.
Ghana is incredibly dangerous, but they can be highly chaotic. They thrive in an open, end-to-end basketball-style track meet.
Up and down the pitch.
Panama's singular goal will be to completely suffocate that chaos. Frankly, if you are watching on TV, Panama will try to make the game look incredibly boring.
Boring is good for them.
Very good. They will deploy that low block, sit deep, and absorb the pace. They want to drag Ghana into a frustrating tactical stalemate.
And make them impatient.
Exactly. They will wait for a Ghanaian fullback to get impatient, push too far forward in search of action, and leave space behind. Then, Carrasquilla releases the spring, and Panama exploits that space on the counter.
What if they lose?
If Panama loses this match and starts the tournament with 0 points, the mathematical mountain they have to climb against Croatia and England becomes almost impossibly steep.
Which perfectly sets up match day 2. Because look who is waiting for them on June 23rd, also in Toronto. Croatia.
A different beast entirely.
We are talking about an elite possession team going directly up against Panama's mid-block. Croatia was the World Cup runner-up in 2018. They made a deep run in 2022.
Incredible pedigree.
They have Champions League level experience at almost every single position. This feels like it's going to be the ultimate stress test of Christensen's discipline against a seasoned European powerhouse.
We talked earlier about a boxer working the body. Facing Croatia is exactly like that.
Slow and agonizing.
Croatia is the ultimate test of sustained concentration. They don't rely on explosive pace to beat you, they rely on passing you to death.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
They will move the ball methodically from the left sideline back to the middle over to the right sideline, probing, calculating, waiting for just one Panamanian midfielder to lose focus, get tired, and step 1 yard out of line.
It sounds mentally exhausting.
The mental fatigue of defending against Croatia for a full 90 minutes is excruciating. For Panama, the objective here isn't necessarily to outplay Croatia or dominate the ball. It is purely to frustrate them.
Just hold the line.
If Panama can maintain their shape and grind out a 0-0 or 1-1 draw, it would be viewed as a monumental tactical victory.
And then we arrive at match day 3, June 27th, playing into the incredibly bright lights of MetLife Stadium in New York and New Jersey. Panama versus England.
The big one.
The rematch. The revenge game for that traumatic 6-1 humiliation back in 2018. The sources are incredibly clear. England is the heavy, undisputed group favorite.
No question.
The betting odds currently have them at 4-9 just to win the group. They're coming off a statistically immaculate qualifying campaign. 8 wins, 22 goals scored, and exactly 0 goals conceded. 0.
Perfection.
How on earth does Panama approach this? I have to imagine they deploy an extreme, deep, low block just to simply survive and protect their goal difference.
The sheer disparity in talent and squad depth here is vast. England's bench is terrifying.
They bring on superstars.
If their starting world-class attackers are tired after 60 minutes, they can simply substitute them for fresh world-class talent. For Panama, this match is an exercise in extreme damage limitation. They will likely park the proverbial bus. That 5-4-1 formation we discussed will be compressed as tightly as possible inside their own penalty box. They will challenge England to try and thread the needle through an incredibly crowded area.
What about the revenge factor?
Now, the ghosts of that 6-1 defeat in 2018 will certainly be heavily referenced in the media and swirling in the stadium atmosphere. But Christensen's primary job will be ensuring his players are focused entirely on their cold, calculated tactical assignment.
Don't get emotional.
Exactly. Not the emotional allure of trying to get revenge, because doing that opens them up to another blowout.
Let's actually talk about the betting odds and the math of this group, because looking at the data, it reveals a really fascinating, realistic pathway for Panama.
The math is intriguing.
According to the bookmakers, Panama is a massive 1,500-to-1 long shot to win the entire tournament, and they are 49-to-1 just to win Group L.
So nobody expects much.
Right. The smart money clearly points heavily to a routine group stage exit. But there's a crucial nuance to the 2026 tournament that completely changes the calculus. The field is expanded to a new 48-team format.
This is a game changer.
Because of this expansion, not only do the top 2 teams in each group advance, but the top 8 third-place teams overall also move on to the knockout rounds.
This is the critical mathematical shift that changes everything for an underdog. In previous 32-team tournaments, a third-place finish in your group meant you were packing your bags and going home.
You were done.
Now, third place can be a lifeline to the round of 32.
Right. So let's extrapolate this. If Panama executes their plan against Ghana and gets a win, say a gritty 1-0 or 2-1 victory, they have 3 points.
A solid foundation.
Then, if they execute that extreme damage limitation we just talked about against Croatia and England, maybe losing those games 1-0 or 2-0, instead of getting blown out 6-1, their overall tournament goal difference might remain relatively healthy.
Right, they don't tank their numbers.
3 points and a decent goal difference could very realistically see Panama advance as one of those best third-place teams. Panama isn't just playing for pride or moral victories anymore. They have a tangible, mathematical, tactical pathway to making history.
It entirely redefines how a manager approaches that final group game. Think about it. In the past, if you were sitting on 3 points and playing a giant like England on the final day, you might feel compelled to risk everything.
Try to score.
Abandon your defense and try to win the game to secure second place. Doing that opens you up to a massive counterattack and a heavy defeat.
Which kills your goal difference.
Under this new format, maintaining a narrow, highly disciplined 1-0 loss against England could actually be the mathematically correct strategic decision to ensure you qualify via goal difference.
It plays right into what they want to do anyway.
It validates Christensen's defensive, pragmatic philosophy perfectly.
It's exactly like playing tournament poker. You don't need to win every hand. You're just trying to survive the bubble and make it into the money.
That's a great analogy.
By the way, while we are talking about all the immense internal pressures of executing this strategy, the sources do highlight one significant external narrative swirling around the team.
The off-field stuff.
There has been some reported geopolitical tension recently regarding the Panama Canal, involving comments from various U.S. political figures. Given that this World Cup is hosted in North America, you'd think that would be a massive distraction.
It could be, easily.
But the reports are very clear. Neither Christensen nor the players are touching the subject. They've instituted a media blackout on it.
Very smart.
As our sources note, the Federation is keeping the focus entirely on national pride and football. We aren't endorsing any specific viewpoints here, just reporting what's in the text. But even the fans, who are rightfully complaining about the exorbitant prices of tickets and transport in the U.S., are leaving the political controversies at the stadium door.
And that is exactly how an elite professional setup must handle external distractions. A World Cup is a psychological pressure cooker all on its own.
The stress is already at a max.
The media attention is suffocating. If a manager allows external geopolitical tensions to seep into the dressing room, it drains the very specific mental energy required to maintain that highly complex 5-4-1 defensive block for 90 minutes.
You can't be distracted.
Christensen's job is to keep the squad completely insulated in a tactical bubble, and according to the sources, it seems he is successfully doing just that.
Okay, let's bring this all together and look at the big picture. We started this deep dive looking back at the chaotic, highly emotional, passionate 2018 squad.
A fun team, but flawed.
A team that captured the world's heart with their sheer joy, but got clinically torn apart on the scoreboard. What we are seeing now, preparing for 2026, is a complete structural metamorphosis.
Right in day.
Under the guidance of Thomas Christensen, they have evolved into a highly disciplined, defensively stout machine. They are protected by the tactical armor of the 5-4-1 block.
That heavy armor.
They have the unspoken European-tested leadership of Michael Amir Murillo anchoring the backline. They have the brilliant veteran savvy of Annabel Godoy doing the dirty work, and the lethal, opportunistic finishing of Ismael Diaz waiting to strike.
A very balanced core.
But, as our sources clearly outline, everything hinges on two massive, fragile factors. Adalberto Carrasquia's physical health as the press-resistant engine of the midfield, and the team's ability to execute their pre-planned counterattacks without falling behind and having to chase the game.
Ultimately, they have transitioned from a team hoping for a miracle to a team relying on a method. And in international football, that transition is the true hallmark of long-term development.
Which leaves us with a fascinating, almost paradoxical hypothetical to ponder as this tournament kicks off, for you to mull over. We know Christensen's ultimate stated goal is to emulate Morocco's shock 2022 run.
He wants to be the giant slayer.
He wants Panama to be the ultimate defensive giant slayer. But here's the catch-22. If Panama's rigidly scripted, heavily armored defensive game plan actually works perfectly, if they suffocate Ghana, frustrate Croatia, and limit the damage against England, they will sneak into the round of 32.
And if they achieve that, waiting for them in that first knockout stage match will inevitably be a top-seeded global giant. They will be facing a true tournament favorite.
Exactly. And in the unforgiving, wildly unpredictable chaos of single-elimination knockout football, where every single team eventually faces a moment of absolute desperation, does a heavily scripted, rigid system become Panama's ultimate superpower?
Or does it break?
Right. Does it provide the ultimate shield against the chaos of the World Cup? Or does that heavy armor suddenly become a glass ceiling that shatters the absolute second they fall behind 1-0 and forced to throw out the script and improvise?
That is the ultimate question for Los Canaleros. Can the system survive the chaos?
If you were watching the tournament this summer, keep a very close eye on Panama. Their entire journey might just hinge on the one thing you simply cannot script. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We'll see you next time.